Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks very much for waiting. Whilst we've dealt with all of the technical issues, because we're going to be talking about digital twins and also Proptech and innovation. Fascinating element in terms of what we're looking at when we're looking at investability in cities, but also what's driving some of the investment markets, particularly around sustainability. In order to get us on the way, I'm going to say nothing more except to hand over to Mandana and Arjan, who are going to talk through some of the things that are happening both here in Germany, in Munich, and also in Utrecht as well from Arjan, just from Digital Twin. So I will hand over to you, and then we're going to have a discussion around some of the topics around that, and particularly the innovation and PropTech and how that fits together. So if we could all give a big welcome to Mandana, that would be great. Mandana,
yep,
thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for joining the session, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce shortly our Digital Twin Munich. I actually joined the city of Munich in 2022, and one of the hot topics in the beginning of 2022 for Munich was the newly developed open space, free space concept from Urban Development Department of the city. And the idea was to bring back all of those street-friendly, car-friendly city center in Munich into a bit more green area and to be more residential-friendly environment. And what you see here is one of the snapshots from one of the news, and there were lots of debates, political, environmental, but also from the technical aspects, whether it's possible, what are the implications of different strategies. There were some people who were in favor of green areas, so making some very boring, dark images of one winter from this area. So it's in the city center of Munich. It's Stachus to the Zenligator, this somehow longer street. And the idea is just to make the whole area very green, just to keep two street lines. This is just the concept, but just to reduce the number of car lanes and have more green areas. And just on the right-hand side, you see the concept. And there were lots of discussion on the political level, but also amongst different departments of the city, like the mobility departments, urban development, climate department, climate and environmental department. And all of them have their concerns, but also ambitious to reach this new free space concept for the city. And we from the Geodata Service Munich, we said, okay, we are not experts in these areas, but what we can do is just to facilitate your discussions on different levels that you have. And our idea was to replicate the reality in the digital world. So what you see here is all the data that we collected for this area from the aerial photography, but also from the terrestrial measurements that we've done, from all the very detailed data for the traffic simulation, for the air pollution. We gathered all the data, we made a 3D visualization, and also we did for the future scenario that we are going to build probably for this area of the city. And it was quite successful because with these means, with these tools, the urban planning department could go to different discussions with politicians, but also very importantly with the citizens, to give them this opportunity to see from different perspectives what does it mean to be pedestrian in this new scenario, what it means to be cyclist, what are the differences. And what you see here is just a simple visualization. You may say, okay, what's the value of this visualization? But behind this visualization, there are the data that can be used for different simulations. So one example is the traffic simulations. We, together with the Technical University of Munich, we simulated different scenarios for the traffic. So what it means to have the current situation, what it means if we remove 2 car lanes, all the car lanes, add and brighten the cyclist lanes. So what are the different scenarios? And very interestingly, also, the Technical University of Munich did a test analysis for the cyclists to see, okay, how they feel if they ride in the street with a narrow bicycle lane, but somehow separated from cars? Do they feel safe? Or it's better to have the whole area green and the people just walking here and there? What are the different stress levels that they may face? Can I go to the next slide? Next slide. And we did it even further for this area and some other use cases. We did also air pollution analyzers, noise analyzers, noise pollution analyzers to really understand what are the different implications of the different scenarios that we may have. And you may say, okay, it's not something new. The air pollution simulation is something that people do for last 20, 30 years. So what are the new innovations in this area? What we did, we gathered all of this information, integrated them into a more tangible way for different purposes. So we have now all these simulations all at one place, and it facilitates different people on different levels to go in discussions and make good and reliable decisions. What beforehand was like that, the mobility department had its own simulation, the environmental department has its own simulation, and just saying, okay, this is not safe from the environmental perspective or not safe from the traffic or mobility perspective. But now we bring all of these different disciplines together to facilitate political decisions, but also citizen engagement events. This is another example. This is just very simple visualization. So we have a very big construction project in the city in Freiheim, and there was a couple of months ago one event, Information Day event, where the idea was just to inform all the residents in this area, so all the neighbors, just to show them, okay, what it means in a couple of years when they have this whole constructions done with all the new buildings and new facilities there, just to inform them, just to include them in these political decisions. And it was quite successful. We received lots of good feedbacks. Even for one of the projects, we received an award for the category of communication with citizens. This is the simulation you see when you have these goggles on your eyes. You will see what it looks like in a couple of years after finishing the project. Yes, I was given only 7 minutes, so I do a recap just to give some time to Arjan, but also for the discussion. What we do through the Digital Twin Munich, first of all, we started in 2018, and since 2020, it is our permanent job in the city of Munich to facilitate, to help support our different departments in the city to visualize, to prepare all of this data for their decision making, to have the reliable decisions based on transparent and trustworthy data that the city collects and offer. We are very demand driven, so we ask different departments what are your use cases, and based on this we try to provide the technologies and the data which are useful and necessary. So I just wrap up here. And I hope we can continue with this discussion in the later phase.
Thanks. Netherlands 3D. Utrecht and Amsterdam, and also the provinces of Flevoland and Utrecht in the Netherlands are collaborating in a joint digital twin solution, a platform which is built with Unity. That's a gaming solution. In which you can create your own code and build your own features. And what we are doing is sharing them under a European Union license with everybody who wants to collaborate. So everybody is welcome. Even companies can collaborate and add features, because we need the innovative strength of the corporations, of course. And what we did is, to make a simple platform for everybody. And in the Netherlands we use open data and open code, because in the Netherlands we have the 3D geometries of the buildings and of the terrains. So we use that, and we add it with our own data from the municipalities itself. And as a a bonus, we connect to the Dutch game development scene. A lot of colleges are having game-related lessons, and yeah, we're connecting with them. In a couple of weeks, we are going to the university in Twente to talk about how interns can join our data pipeline, developing stream. So what we did, it's visually attractive, it's interactive, we have 3D data connections, reusable functionalities, and you can do it yourself. Even a little municipality can add via a wizard, I show you later on, and made their own digital twin with the data we provided from the Netherlands. Everybody knows Bob Ross, of course, happy clouds. So, one platform for all European cities. We are collaborating also with Munich. We made a platform in the same setup as Amsterdam and Utrecht with data we received from our colleagues in Munich. And we also made a reality mesh now with data from Google. So we reach into the Google API from Google Earth and show them in our own platform. So, yeah, these are the links. I don't know if the presentation is shared. Good.
If you're happy to share it, I'll share it.
Yeah, okay, good. Then it's demo time. And we go to the live demo. This is live from the internet. Everybody can reach this. This is Utrecht, Central Station, our city hall. No, not city hall, but our city office. And we also connect data to it. If you click on the link, you can go to another site from our cadastre for some additional data. It's directly gets you to the building in question. So if you're coming here, we have a lot of features to show. But I also, for the time, I made a selection with added data I added already in front of. So this is a building information model from a building in Leidse Rijn. It's a big Vinex locatie in Utrecht. And yeah, you see, because of the gaming technology, yeah, it is of course a semantic model, but you can add the details you like. And we have a first-person viewer, so you can get on the ground and also walk into the building. I do it a little bit fast, but so you can add your own data sets to the environment. I will start up a new one, and let's join some. You showed also, Mandana showed the mobility simulation. We are also capable of importing simulations from out Vism. Vism is a simulation software program in which specialists make the simulation for new crossings or whatever, and we can visualize them. So it is loading now, and I will also put the new design from the roads in it. You see it's working very fast even on this crappy network. And if it's good, yeah, you see already some people walking. This is the simulation that was made by the company who is specialized in simulations. But now you can share it with also civilians by clicking this link. And you can generate a link and share that with civilians so they can all watch at home these simulations. Well, a lot of these simulations are mostly technical, 5,000 cars per 24 hours. What does that mean? We show it what it means. And I think it can help in reducing resistance from civilians. So that is why Marcel later on in the panel will also elaborate that we we want to build a bridge to have more efficient, how you call it, beleidsbeslissingen. Sorry? Policy decisions, yes. So I don't know if I have any more time, but one last thing. I told you about the Google API, and we also connected Munich because they're our friends. And this is the data from Google, but our cadastre in the Netherlands is working on 3D tiles. So they are serving their 3D tiles directly from the source, and we can connect it into this platform also. So yeah, we have a reality mesh model together with a semantic mesh model, and also in this semantic model, that's my final, we can connect to web map services, so you can easily drape an aerial picture over the environment and even see what the temperature is in Utrecht on this moment. This is also an API calling for the field temperature in the city. It's cold, so everything is purple, but on a hot day you see the yellows and the oranges on the spot. So I think this is it.
Great, super. Thanks so much, Ian. Really good. Really interesting, and if the speakers could come up, because we're tight for time, but that was fun. That was really fascinating, actually, to be able to see what's possible there in terms of the digital twinning and what you can do with that. Yep. So really interesting to see that. I'm going to move fairly swiftly through, but let's start very briefly with literally 30 seconds of introduction so that people know who you are and what you do. Let's start with you, Paul.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Wessels. I'm CEO of Blue Module. That's a company which creates ESG accounting software. So financial information and ESG information are becoming on the same track. So that's what we do.
Great, thanks very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jan Christian Westerlund. I'm a co-founder of Freesi. And at Freesi, we create indoor climate management for real estate portfolios. There's more than 100 cities in the world using our software, and 100 commercial real estate owners creating healthier spaces, conforming to ESG regulations with our help. Thank you.
Great, super. Marcel.
I have my microphone itself. My name is Marcel Dufhuis from the municipality of Utrecht, and I'm the lead digital twin in Utrecht, and we work together with Amsterdam.
Great. Mandana, we already know who you are, but you can give us a very brief 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm Mandana, and
it'll catch up. It's
okay.
all right.
I'm working for the Geodata Service Munich as part of communal department, and we have also one competence center for digital twin, where I'm leading the subgroup of urban data management.
Great, and Steen?
Stijn Steenbakkers, Vice Mayor of Eindhoven, responsible for Brainport, economics, innovation, education.
Great, really interesting. So we've got an interesting selection both from the cities in terms of those are the harder edge of the innovation and technology, as well as city leadership, as well as some really interesting, different, innovative Proptech companies that are doing areas in the same space to drive this forward. It would be interesting just to pick up, maybe young Christian, with you, because that area of digital twins I thought was fascinating. Are there ways which that can interact also with what you're doing, and maybe the same for you, Paul, as well?
Well, yeah, it's very interesting. If you look at ESG accounting, the biggest pain right now is from the side of the banks and from the financial institutions who want to have this information in view of valuations, so the value of properties. But we've been working initially on also measuring whole areas. But then, and I was fascinated by this digital twin. I didn't know it existed, but you have to put it in perspective of how do you measure it then? Eh? So is there a standard you can use to measure like Munich with Utrecht or Amsterdam. That would be something to explore.
Okay, great. Jan Christian.
Thank you. I see clear connection between large data models like this and working with the real estate, optimizing the buildings and reaching these climate targets together, saving energy, creating healthier spaces. So, for example, having this metadata and large data models can be combined into data flows from the buildings. How is the air quality? How are the people feeling and experiencing? And from that, we'll be able to develop better buildings in the future. We'll know which systems, which setups and designs create the best spaces with the least energy consumption.
No, good. And Steen, it would be interesting to pick up with you, obviously from a city leader's perspective, and Eindhoven, very big focus on innovation, technology generally, and forward-looking in that sense. But I was interested that Mandana also talked about digital twins being part of also helping build community and those kinds of things. So it'd be interesting to get from your perspective, how do you think you can use things like the innovations that are here, but also the sort of digital twinning? How does that support what you want to achieve as a city leader?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's very important when you are in a city with a technological university, you learn one thing on your first day, that if you let those guys work just on technology and a technology push, ultimately the question comes, and what's the meaning? Why do you do this? The same is with digital twinning, right? So if you come from it from a pure technological perspective and you don't know what the outcome should be, I think you're lost if it's just a technology push. So for Eindhoven there are mainly two things. First is a social perspective. Our city is growing in a very fast pace, and we're doing the utmost for our inhabitants to take them along. And I think digital twinning is our way, not the way, but our way to take people along and let them see and feel the future a little bit of their city. That's the first thing. And the second thing, and I missed that a little bit in the presentations, is what's the outcome? So I want to have measured what the outcome is if we use digital twinning. So is policy decision going twice as fast because we have a digital twin? Do we make less mistakes in urban planning? And I think that that's the very hard part, to make that very concrete. So what I see is a lot of technology pushing, and what I try to do is also in a broad collaboration. That's maybe also an interesting to say. I don't believe that our government can do this by themselves. So we work in the UDI, the Urban Development Initiative, with big construction companies like Heijmans, developers like BPD, Fraunhofer Institute from Germany, or technological university, city, different cities, to look and make those things concrete, and then just give a concrete assignment to our technological students, because they make a digital twin. That's not that hard, but knowing what to do with it in order to make it right is hard.
Well, and that's interesting, Marcel. Why don't you pick up that point? Because I think being able to get good outcomes from it is obviously the purpose of it, I guess.
There are two more ways to go to Rome. So you have the technical push, and I think it was necessary to do that technical push, because now we discuss about the digital twin because we can show it. And now it's for our policymakers, okay, what's next? And that, you're right, but because we like to have a good discussion with real data and the real world in combination, what's our urban planning in the coming years. And now we are in the phase, say, can we make a combination with static data and dynamic data? And what does it help for you to make the right decision? That's right.
And Mandana, if I'm correct, you were sort of saying that you're using the digital twin actually to inform citizens about potential changes and get buy-in from them in a way, and help, I guess, help support some of that social cohesion around new projects.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, recently the citizen engagement, co-creation, co-design with citizen is one of the very beloved topics in Germany. And there are lots of smart cities projects which are really focusing on this aspect. And we thought what is quite useful from digital twin is this idea of 3D, where the citizen actually need this 3D. Probably for many of like simulations, we don't really need to focus on 3D. The 2D data would be enough. But this 3D visualization, making nice, bringing also a bit gamification in this, we can cover the citizens, but also the wide range of the ages, from youth citizens, the school students, till old people. This one example that I showed, I was also involved in one of the citizen engagement events, and there was one old lady who said, what happens if you make the whole area green, because there is fuel station, I don't have any car, but on Sunday I always get there to buy my stuff, so what happens? And having these visualizations, helping people and citizens to really imagine what will happen in future with this scenario, help them to be also involved in the decision making and the policy making for the cities.
And it's really interesting, that connection with the sort of micro element and the macro element that you're dealing with there in terms of the digital twins. Stein then mentioned the sort of idea of outcomes, which of course means measurement, which means benchmarking, which means looking at those kinds of things. So obviously, Paul and Jan Christian, both in your own ways, you're solutions providers. So how important is that measurement? How important are those things to actually driving forward, particularly elements of sustainability within cities?
Well, thank you. If I start out by stating that we need to work with both the large-scale data and immediately start operating the buildings more efficiently with the data. So we can use the same data for two purposes. And that's the only way we're able to reach these climate accord targets, optimizing the current stock and building better for the future. So, Paul?
Well, I think best practices are key. So you need best practices to measure. And if I look at our world of ESG accounting, there's a central theme that's called test, verify, certify. So you have to gather information, you have to provide the proof, and then you have to assess the information. These are the steps. And these are being applied increasingly in the financial world. So the banks are working through this process. They have to also because, for instance, the European Central Bank is saying we need this information. We see it from the regulatory side, CSRD, EU taxonomy. I don't yet see something like that happening on the municipality side. So I would say you would need a comprehensible framework how to measure city areas. For instance, there are examples. You like well or fit well. They have community standards for like measuring an area. They work regarding with this principle: test, verify, certify. So that might be interesting for these cities to look at these kind of standards.
And is there a way in which the cities could also integrate some of the things that you guys are doing and other innovative tech companies are doing into their models, for example?
Yeah, we've been looking at Cartesius in Utrecht. The problem there was that initially there wasn't really a framework available, so that they didn't start with a framework. So afterwards they realized, okay, we need to measure something, but then how do you measure it and how do you organize it? Yeah. Because there are so many players involved with an area development like that. So the private investors, the municipality, other stakeholders. How do you get them in one direction? So that was a challenge.
Okay, good.
Marcel, but we are at the beginning of this development. So we have a lot of experience on this moment, and now we are ready with the static data. Now we can get a combination with dynamic data. So we go from emotional decisions to data decisions. But yeah, it takes some time, and we need some partners to go in there. But that means that we can make better decisions, quicker decisions, based on data, and not on emotion.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Can I also add one point? I think when we hear about digital twin, we always think it's just a technical thing, technical platform. But with digital twin, at least from the city perspective, we are also helping the processes to improve the processes, to make them streamlined. And of course, at the moment, we're focusing a lot inside the municipality, so different departments, how to streamline the processes, different processes on different scales that we have. But I'm quite optimistic that as soon as we get this in hand and help the inside the municipality to understand what are the benefits of digital twin, not only from the technical perspective, also from the policy and organizational perspective, we can expand it to work with private sectors and also the real estate sector.
Yes, you want to speak that up?
And it would be interesting to learn from your cities if you also measure it. So if you have a city of an area development in your city and one is done by help with a digital twin, how much faster did policy decision go? Were the inhabitants around that area more in favor of the development or not? And at this moment, I didn't see examples yet of how we're actually measuring it. So it's always a discussion of, okay, we think it works. So I heard a little bit as well, but can we also show that it works? Because I believe that when we're able as cities to show that it works internally in the municipality or externally, because you have less arguments against a certain spatial development, then everybody is going to use it. And of course, then you can use a standard way and everybody can mingle and do their own part. But that's, I think, a crucial part to really scale it up.
And Jan Christian, I just wanted, you mentioned there that you were active across a number of cities. So is there a sort of also idea of benchmarking those so that you can compare between the different cities and what's happening?
There certainly is. Previously, without the new technology, indoor air quality was invisible to people inside buildings. Now we have a science-based way of measuring it, setting targets, improving, reporting and benchmarking. So we'll be able to see how different cities or portfolios perform. So that gives clear indication on where to go for collaboration and best practices, and that's very helpful because cities are very open to collaborating. They're not competing against each other in that sense. So this is a perfect example of facilitating that.
And I think it's interesting, we're right up against time, but I'm just going to say that I think that point around collaboration is really a good one. I think this panel is also part of that collaboration, to be able to share what one another is doing, even at early stages of things and where there's still more development to go. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, what happens over the next year, because I can see potentially huge growth in these areas. And also, you know, there's a lot of discussions we've had around particularly the social side, and that becoming far more an important part, and measurement being an issue. And I can see also elements where you're working there, Paul, and also Jan Christian, you're working where, you know, you can actually then begin to benchmark and measure, which is really fascinating. And I'm not going to talk any longer, because otherwise I will be responsible for us being late for the next session, which I don't want to do. But thank you to everybody being here. Thank you to everybody who's watching on demand as part of the program of live events at EXPO Real.